Hi, Rick here with another viewer-voted cultural index. Now the Xindi present a unique situation in the Star Trek mythos, one that is seldom seen throughout science fiction races in general. That is the presence of 6 distinct intelligent races evolving from a common ancestor. Reptilian, primate, aquatic, avian, insectoid, and the subject of today's index, the arboreal Xindi. The arboreals seem to have descended through a mammalian branch of the evolutionary tree alongside their primates, but were closer to a sloth than an ape. Their diet consists of mainly vegetation with protein derived from insect life, such as tree scarabs, which the arboreal occasionally hunted. As the name suggests, the arboreals prefer woodlands and forested surroundings. They build their houses among natural environments. The lack of concrete, metal and illuminated walkways between their structures suggests a general respect for nature, as they seem to attempt to minimise their impact on the environment. Sure, their houses are made from stone, plaster and wood, but mass deforestation and extensive quarrying do not seem to be utilised. We see a great deal of arboreal Xindi enjoy pursuing vocations that mix craft and theory. Scientists, factory work and production jobs are common. The extensive use of wooden furniture, tapestry and ornamentation suggests a thriving business for carpentry and needlework for both practical and artistic pursuits. It may also be alluded to that leatherworking is a common trait for an arboreal craft, as ranking officials are often adorned with furs and patchwork leather. Of course, the arboreal efficiency with crafting leads to a lot of trade with the other races, so it's possible that many of their commodities seen in a Xindi household are from a myriad of cultures. But their tendency toward construction as well as the ease of hunting due to more modern technology, I feel presents the likely situation that they occasionally hunted animals themselves. This patchwork nature of a lot of their leather coats hints that nothing is wasted, with even cut-offs and scraps finding their way into use. Again, a general reflection of the respect for the environment and the nature that surrounds them. It should be noted though, that a rustic appearance is maintained by the arboreal in their settlements and general efforts are maintained to preserve their environment, they are still an industrial species. Refineries, industrial complexes and other structures are necessarily large and constructed in a far more utilitarian fashion. This provides a distinct separation between work and home. One small fact that pops up is their aversion to large bodies of water. This hydrophobic tendency isn't explained, but may be more to do with their canopied living conditions. Perhaps they simply hate getting soaked. I mean, I'd hate if I was all furry and drenched. Be dripping everywhere, getting mould into the wooden furniture. Now, the view other Xindi species have of the arboreals varies from the perspective of the observer. Reptilians often view their methodical, deliberate actions as slow and lethargic, while the primates and aquatics respect their unerring adherence to precision. Do not let opinion colour your perception, however. The arboreal Xindi may seem slow at times, but that is because the majority place a great reverence on contemplation and deliberation. They see no harm in possessing all the facts, making an informed decision, and therefore are open to change. This pride in thought often elevates intellectual figures to positions of power. For example, the representative to the Xindi Council was a scientist by profession. So the Xindi Council was the establishment for unifying the races of the Xindi and consisted of members from each race, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So let's take a quick look back at Xindi history. The planet Xindus was the homeworld that supported this diverse ecosystem, and for thousands of years the species coexisted. Despite their common ancestor though, and numerous biological similarities, most notably near-identical neurological and nervous systems, they did not develop as a harmonious society. The races were often at war with one another. Even the peaceful arboreal Xindi were capable of tearing another in half with their powerful claws and just raw strength. This age of conflict came to a head with the Great Xindi Civil War, a bloody conflict during which the interstellar races waged open warfare with one another, and at this stage there'd been a spacefaring culture for almost 4,000 years. The reptilian and insectoid races eventually detonated explosions beneath the mantle of Xindus, and the homeworld became even more geologically unstable. An evacuation was sounded, and all of the races but the avians made it off-world before it disintegrated. The survivors were left to drift aimlessly throughout space, a time known as the Great Diaspora. It was then that the Guardians, as they became known, stepped in. An alien race from another realm, they assisted the Xindi in finding one another, settling habitable planets and securing resources. For this reason, the Guardians are honoured in Xindi culture, in different ways among the species. Some see them as infallible gods, others merely give thanks to them as one would a helpful stranger. But all understand their role in preserving Xindi society. They even assisted in establishing the Council, whose primary function was to maintain diplomatic relations between the species and search for a new homeworld that could support their diverse needs. The Arboreals are often seen as the thinkers of the Council, alongside the Aquatics. Their voice often lends weight to the actions that the Council then ratifies. Unlike the Aquatics, however, the arboreal species lack a great deal of defensive and offensive technology. As seen by their ingenuity and penchant for craft, this seems to be a deliberate choice to demilitarize, as they are clearly capable of great scientific endeavours. This means they are often content to leave the fighting to the other races of the Xindi, the primates, the reptilians and the insectoids. Of course, they will still sit back and judge the other races for it, and so begins the age-old argument of, well, you can afford to be a peaceful culture because we're the ones protecting you. Overall, the arboreal Xindi exude a calm aura, from the warm colour of their homes to the soft arches and circles frequent in their architecture, and the desire to understand all aspects of a debate. The naturally intellectual Xindi are born craftsmen, leading them to be an amiable and approachable species. Should be noted, however, that these traits only come to true fruition when the Xindi act as part of a community. Dedicated to minimising their impact on their surroundings and the other races, they can often require the protection of a more powerful entity, and by the year 2311, that entity was the United Federation of Planets. However, the Xindi did not actively join Starfleet until the early 2400s, according to some sources. If you enjoyed this cultural look at the Xindi, let us know what we missed, and we'll get into looking at the other Xindi species in time. For now, however, the next choice of index is between the fast-talking Solarians from Mass Effect or the Destiny Universe Cabal Empire. There'll be 2 comments below, one for each race, and the one with the most likes is the one that gets the next episode. So until then, thanks for watching. I've been Rick and I'm looking forward to the next vid. Hope to see you there. Oh, and before I go, just thought I'd quickly mention, we're looking into launching a new series to cover certain races that perhaps wouldn't fall into a cultural analysis, things like the Borg and the Vex and the Cybermen, because culturally they're kind of dead. But they are interesting species to look at anyway, so we're going to come up with something else to look at those sorts of things. Goodbye.